I've had a few questions about problems people are having with view settings. So let's just go over that basically. So in Climate Studio, when we CSS shadows is the view setting to get the shadows. So if I switch to wireframe and I switch to shadows here in Climate Studio, the shadows come on and you see that the CSS shadows is activated. So that's the viewport that we're using, or the view settings we're using. Uh, and so some people are having issues with this. Let's go into, to see where these are set, we'll go into Options. And under Rhino Options, you have Document Properties, Rhino Options. So this is general. When you set these, they will be this way for all. Anytime you open up Rhino, unless you have multiple versions open right now, then it'll be the last one you close, whatever you saved there. At least that's my experience. Anyway, so I'm going to go down to CSS shadows for the reasons I just described. And now we see if I come to shade objects, and instead of objects color, I change it to, for example, single color for all. I think this is what a lot of people are getting, this gray color. You might have a rendering setting on here like this. So this I'm still getting the transparency on my layer over here, but I'm losing the color. So you should have it set on objects color, or really what you should do is just play around with this and learn how it works. Okay, so I think that's going to solve the problems for most of the situations that I've heard. But let's do a little bit more. If I go into my property setting, actually let me go back. I'm going to select this object. I'm going to go into my properties setting here, and I have these two rendering options. I can cast shadows and receive shadows. So if I want this to receive but not cast, this is what happens. So this sometimes might be a setting that you've accidentally enabled. So just remember that's a place you should go and experiment with your settings. If we go to week 2, I was playing around with this. There's a couple other things to remember. So if I, again, let's just go back into these settings to show you that this is going to be true for, this is now, the setting I have in the other model should be set here, I think. I'm going to go to View, but if it isn't, we'll just, doesn't really matter. I'm going to change this now to the rendering color and to single color for all objects. So we see that this is consistent throughout. But what I wanted to show here is, remember, like I don't really want, let me move this around so it's a little bit more. Right now, my buildings are putting a shadow under the ground of this model, which is basically the entire infinite world here of this whiteness. I didn't want this in this smaller model, so if I select, first of all, if I select this topo, you see that I've already got the cast shadows turned off here, so if I turn that back on, now my topo itself is casting a shadow. So I'm going to turn that, I have to select it again, turn it off. But now, how do if these buildings, I don't want them casting shadows onto the ground out here, but I do want them casting shadows under the topo. So there's a way I can game that or set it. I say game because then you may want to set it back for other situations, so you just have to get a little bit facile with this. If I come back into my CSS shadows and I turn the ground plane settings off, now I have just shadows on the model itself that I've made and not on the ground. All right, so that's some specifics about view settings. The general comment here is play around and get to where you're able to quickly adjust these settings, because you're going to want to do it. And the better you get at it, the more efficient you're going to be in Rhino and Climate Studio. All right, hope this helps.